this season, will Prentice become the master?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me from the AHSA Radio Network. And from Bama Online is Jimmy Stein. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best, and we really appreciate you every dayers. You guys make it all happen. So, Jimmy, today we've got some interesting stuff. We're going to talk about this Krav Maga thing. Has nothing to do with Trump. It's just Krav Maga. I'll let you explain it later. We're also going to.
That's funny. That's good.
Yeah. We're also going to go over the cold summer cookout list, which is being updated almost daily.
Also, nothing to do with Trump.
Also, nothing to do with Trump. And then we're going to talk about Kobe Prentice. And that's where we'll start. Kobe Prentice is number 15 on your countdown today, number 1 in your heart. This is a guy from the state of Alabama that has been, a good, not necessarily great player, but it's time to take that step. We're in the part of the countdown. A lot of these guys, we're talking about how all this potential, but you got to step it up a notch. And I think Kobe Prentice is probably the embodiment of that. It's time for him to really step up his game just a tad. And look, if Ryan Williams, and this is a Ryan Williams podcast, if Ryan Williams isn't the best receiver on this team this year, I think Kobe Prentice is going to be that guy.
He could be. I mean, I talked about this, in my bio on him or my piece on him on BOL. It's almost rare now that you've got a veteran who's been a significant player for 2 years that's still on the team. Because a lot of time, by the time they've been a significant player for 2 years, they're already in the NFL, or they're like, ooh, I'm famous. Now I'm going to get in the portal and go make real money. Not everybody's got this. And it used to be commonplace in 1984, 1994, in 2004, and 2014. The team was full of guys who had been playing on the field for 2 years. Now, there's not as many of those guys. They're out there, but there's not as many of those guys as there used to be. Kobe played in the first quarter of the first game of his career and has never looked back. This is a guy who's been a first-team player since he got off the bus, which is pretty amazing when you also consider that per standard set in the Saban era, this is not a heavily recruited player. A lot of people might remember that when Kobe Prentice committed to Alabama, he was committed to Maryland. He was from Birmingham, committed to Maryland early and flipped to Alabama after he shows up at Alabama's camp and ran like a 4.3. And they're like, okay, sold, we want you. And then he flipped from Maryland to Alabama. But this was not a national top. This was never a 5-star type contender, not the biggest guy in the world at 5'10", 182. But nevertheless, he played in the first quarter of the first college game he's ever played in and has been a 1 ever since. I believe off the top of my head, Luke, he's right at about 38 catches, maybe. Maybe more. That number escapes me, but he's caught a lot of balls. As a matter of fact, I think he might have caught 30 balls. I think he's actually caught 50 balls. He caught over 30 balls his freshman year. I was wondering, looking at his stats, Luke, if we're like, man, I think we would want Ryan Williams to catch as many balls as Kobe Prentice did in his freshman year when Kobe caught 34 his freshman year, I think.
He caught 31. He's got 49 total. So he's got 31 in his freshman year. Only 18 last year. Now, what people really do remember, and that's another thing we talk about on this countdown, is the signature moment for each of these players, right? Yeah. And I would say the signature moment for Kobe Prentice may be that catch against Arkansas where he had a big, long touchdown pass from Jalen Milroe towards the end of the first. But it also could be the catch against Georgia where they also ripped him down by his face mask. That was a big play in the SEC title game. But he only had 18 catches last year. And that's really got to change. Now, again, he's only a junior. Here's my thing. I'm hoping we get 2 more years of Kobe Prentice.
Right.
I'm not sure that we do, but I hope we do.
I think we could and we should. Again, I gave that speech to Jaheim Otis the other day. I'm going to give it to Kobe Prentice now. You're a 4-year player, in college. You need the maturity, and I ain't talking about off the field. He is a mature kid off the field. I'm talking about on the field. I'm talking about learning. When you're not a physically dominant guy, and you're not. I mean, Kobe, you're not going to go to the NFL and be physically dominant. Come on. You have to be good at the small things. You have to be a veteran. You have to be wily. You have to know how to be an artist of the position, a student of the game. That's how he'll be successful at the next level. You ain't going to learn that in just 3 years of college football when you're 20 years old. I mean, Kobe needs to play 4 years of college football, in my opinion. So when he enters the NFL, he's giving himself the best chance to be successful. As far as his downturn in production, I think it's real simple. I don't think it had anything to do with Kobe. I think it had 100% to do with Jalen Milroe and the offense. Again, Jalen Milroe averaged 23 pass attempts per game. That's all there is. So let's say he's completing 67 or close to 70%, which is a lot. That's 16 or 17 balls per week that are being completed to the running back room, to the tight end room, and the wide receiver room. That's just not a lot of receptions to go around. And Kobe was not a top 2 receiver on this team. It was Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. Kobe was like third. So I think Kobe, the drop from freshman to sophomore year totally had to do fewer passes, fewer personnel snaps. Last year's offense was primarily, what was the most common personnel package? 12. That means 1 back, 2 tight ends. So there's only 2 receivers on the field a ton of the time. And when there were 2 receivers out there, who was it going to be? Bond and Burton. So Kobe wasn't even out there as much as he was as freshman year. Now this year, the primary personnel package under DeBoer and Sheridan will be back to 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end. That'll mean 3 receivers out there most of the time. Kobe almost certain to be one of those top 3 guys. He's going to catch a lot more balls. I think if Kobe stays healthy and Milroe throws it as much as we expect him to throw it this year, Luke, I think Kobe will exceed even his freshman year numbers. And boy, then his career numbers will start looking pretty sexy, frankly.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm really hoping for as Alabama's receiving corps increases in talent. Ryan Williams coming in this year, Caleb Cunningham for next year. A lot of dudes that'll be coming in. Lotsir Brooks, obviously. I'm hoping that we have a guy like Kobe stick around for another year to be the senior leader.
Yeah,
and even, here's my prediction, that if he does stay for 2 more years, he has a really nice year this year, maybe not all SEC or anything, really nice year, but then senior year production drops off, but he's a leader. That's my prediction. So,
leader. And just because the production drops off doesn't mean he's a lesser player. It can mean he's more of a player. The key is being efficient. How good are you snap to snap? And that's where we will see Kobe improvement this year, now that he's an upperclassman, and particularly next year if he comes back.
All right. So, Jimmy, one thing that everybody's been keeping up with is recruiting. And Alabama's got a huge cold summer cookout coming up. And we need to talk about this list. But, of course, I want to tell you about eBay Motors because you love eBay Motors. I love eBay Motors. We all love eBay Motors. Ice cream for ice cream, all that stuff. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I also want to encourage everybody to go check out the Locked On Sports Today. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting and stupidness? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, y'all. And we also want to encourage you to go check out Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy. I'm telling you, they got it all covered with the SEC Media Days right now. So, Jimmy, let's talk about this cookout coming up. The big-time cookout, man. Super excited about it. Early guest list, of course, is out there, and it's going to be a thing. And look, here's the thing. I don't think we're going to know everybody that's going to the cookout. I think they're going to be keeping some secrets, don't you?
Yeah, Tim Watts, Andrew Bone, and Joseph Hastings have been working on that list, and they've put a list out on BOL. Encourage everyone to check out the full list. Me and Luke will talk about a few of those guys. I'm real excited about, that this kind of tradition continues. I mean, Saban had a champions cookout. It's sort of continuing. We're not sure of the actual theme other than cold summer is going to continue. And that seems to be working well. It's we sort of made fun of it a little bit early on, or had fun with it. The kids aren't laughing. The kids are committing, they like it. And there certainly will be a cold summer theme to it, which is funny. But here's the thing about the list that interests me. And of course, Bone and Tim and Hastings have been working really hard on that. The ones that we're interested in attending, they're not, just because they're not on the list doesn't mean they're not coming. Some kids can't confirm that they're coming because it might give away stuff, right? I mean, if let's just use an example, AK Deer. That's a commitment we want, right? I mean, if AK Deer's coming, I mean, it's because most of the kids at this cookout, most of the kids that will be there, the 25 kids, they're all commitments. I mean, they're all commitments. The uncommitted kids primarily will be 26 and 27 players, high priority players too. Let's also say that, that we are anticipating some splashy 26 kids, splashy. And again, this is a great recruiting thing because most of the 25 kids that will be there, almost all of them will be committed players. They would like the whole class there. It's just hard. This is an unofficial visit. It's, kids have to pay their own way.
Yeah. Now, a couple of names that are on the list, obviously, and here's some big ones that are really important. Keelan Russell, Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham, Dijon Lee, Derek Smith, who also will be going to Big Cat Weekend. But I feel great. If he's going to go to Big Cat, then come to the cookout. I feel fantastic about that. Mal Wadrup, Mike DeBose, Jaden Harmon, London Simmons, underclassmen that are scheduled to come so far. Tank Jones from St. Paul's, Zion Gibson from Gaston City. Yep. Brandon Arrington, who's the number one athlete for 2026. Mm-hmm. Xavier Griffin and Ryder Lyons from California, who was quarterback. And look, here's one other thing Andrew Bone pointed out on his own 3 article that somebody made mention that, we must be paying a lot for people to come on these visits. He's like, Alabama Collective didn't pay people to come on visits. There are people who say that all the time, and maybe some other collectives do. I don't know. I don't even know if you can legally. But Andrew Bone says Alabama Collective does not. So I think we just need to put that out there so that you can quash it.
Other fan bases are trying to explain away Alabama's recruiting success, and this is one of the arrows in their quiver. They're paying. It used to be when you recruited well, it was they're paying them. Well, now you can pay them. So now they come up with other stuff, and it's just meant to diminish what. Here's probably why Alabama's recruiting well. Alabama is a great bet. The facilities are the best, bar none, in the best conference in the 12th playoff, where it's the best brand in college football. These kids are 17 years old. They've known no Alabama but the Nick Saban Alabama. That's the only Alabama they've ever known. And they just equate Alabama with, that's the 33rd NFL team. Now you bring in a new staff with a new modern updated offense with great recruiters on the staff that really identify with kids like Jamarcus Shepard, a general manager like Courtney Morgan, who's really good at what he does. That's why Alabama's recruiting well. It's not magic beans or paying kids whatever you're not supposed to pay them, which is kind of hard to tell these days. But Alabama's recruiting well because of what Nick Saban built and what Kalen DeBoer and his staff are doing with it.
I kind of like the idea that it is magic beans.
Yeah, it would be cool.
That would be much better.
Because
Like,
that's something we could use. Because
and if we're in the South, so it's magic green beans.
we need magic beans, obviously.
Not that French.
To reverse this aging. Notice that we're on YouTube all the time without makeup, without a crew, without a team of people to help us. We're, we need some work here. So hopefully we have some plastic surgeons that are fans of the show.
At this point, I'm wondering if the bags under my eyes are paper or plastic. That's not bad. I just came with that on the fly. I can live with that.
It's pretty good.
Jimmy, something interesting that you guys at On 3 wrote about was this new Krav Maga thing. And it's all about, it seems, hand strength. And I just found that incredibly interesting, especially for a guy who's got 2 mallet fingers that I didn't even know what that was till I got them. And so, yeah, I'm going to get you to explain this Krav Maga deal. Again, want to remind you guys to go check out the Locked On has launched the first ever National Sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts on Locked On, plus our national recruiting shows covering every single league there is. Find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV channels app. Y'all go check it out. Also, go check out, who you should check out today is Locked On Sooners. I'm telling you, Oklahoma's up today. I think they're going to be covering that thing really cool.
Yeah, I was on that show one time. It was a while back, but I was on that show. Good dudes.
Good people.
Yeah. And all the Locked On shows are really good. And it's fun this time of the year to go listen to your opponents. Zach over at Auburn does a great job.
And he's there in Dallas. He's in Dallas.
He is. Yeah. All the Locked On shows are good, and you guys should check out more of them. Even if y'all all have favorite pro teams too. Everyone listening has a favorite pro team. Listen to your Locked On of your favorite pro team.
All right. So Jimmy, Krav Maga isn't it an Israeli thing?
It is an Israeli thing. It is. Now that you mention it, yeah, it is.
That it seems like that would be something very important to remember. Like, oh yeah, it is an Israeli thing. But okay, so explain it, because I read the article and it's very interesting, and I love the idea and the concept of it. How exactly is it going to help us?
Yeah, great article on BOL. My compadre Charlie Potter, also en route to Dallas. Literally talked to Charlie minutes ago, en route on the way. He'll have great coverage there on site, boots on the ground. Krav Maga is, look, I think our team, our guys, Tyler Booker primarily is who has arranged all this, one of the great leaders on the team. There's a video that really worked its way around all players at all levels of watching this guy. Clayton is his last name. He worked out Aaron Donald, and he also worked with Khalil Mack, and videos of him training the best player in the world, Aaron Donald, along with maybe the best pass rusher in the NFL, or one of them, Khalil Mack, made its way around. The players really like it. And really the concept behind it, as I understand it, is these guys have big, powerful bodies and a lot of muscle and a lot of strength. How do you utilize all the muscles in your body through your hands? So your hands, you don't just have hand strength. Your hands are being the dispensary for all of your power, all of the power you have in your legs and your back, in your shoulders, all of the power being used by your hands. What he wants and what he's preaching is violent hands, because your hands are how you instigate contact in the trenches, whether you're an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman or a front seven guy. This is about front seven training in the offensive line, and having violent hands and techniques that you can use to bring more power to your hands using all of your muscles and not just simply the muscles that you have in your hands. The players like it. They were all involved this year. I think last year the offensive line worked with them, but they liked it so much. And this year the defensive line was like, hey, we want to get in on this. And some linebackers did too. So it was a big group. What I want to talk about, though, one thing that Charlie didn't address that I think is really cool is there's a lot of criticism out there about these players getting paid. And that boggles my mind why it would upset anyone. But what I want to brag about is, these kids that are getting paid, they're not using all of their money for silly teenage stuff. The stuff that any teenager would use if all of a sudden they were handed a bunch of money and they would go out and buy a car or something flashy or clothes. I'm sure they're doing those things and they deserve that because they deserve some fun and they deserve some prizes to go with their hard work. But these kids are also using their NIL money on this. They have to pay for this. This isn't Alabama. This is Tyler Booker and the rest of everybody that wants to be trained by this guy. They're paying out of their pockets, their NIL money. I think it's fantastic when kids from all over the country, not just at Alabama, but the Alabama kids are using their NIL money to reinvest in themselves by training outside of the Alabama training they get, whether you're talking about Ty Simpson, who's always used QB Country, I've been affiliated with. Ty Simpson is a famed QB Country guy. Every kid on the team, the DBs pay Justin Woodall, to train them as a defensive back. Everybody on the team, pretty much, you can bet, has some sort of private trainer that they pay. You can do that now because all the players have the money to do it. And whether they're giving money to charity, which a lot of our players do with their NIL money too, or reinvesting in their own games, I think it's great. And let's not just all talk about the bad stuff or kids acting like kids. Imagine that.
Yeah, I was muted. I'm trying to stay muted because I'm in a Sky Club in Atlanta. So,
fancy,
fancy stuff. I mean,
let me tell you, I'm a drinker, but you should see me drink before I get
when
on
it's
the plane.
Free. Anyway, I found this whole Krav Maga thing incredibly interesting. I think that I think it will help. I think it's very unique. And look, it sort of reminds me of Nate Oates putting those guys through like the Navy SEAL training or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like try something different and see what it does. And, obviously for Alabama, it works. Speaking of Nate Oates, before we go, AJ Dabanasta, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but the number one recruit for AJD, he will be considering Alabama now. He has a relationship with Preston Murphy. In fact, he has been crystal balled to Alabama by one leading source. I mean, like, he is the number one recruit in the country despite class. That's a big deal too. He's just a wiry 6'7" guy who can do literally everything. And good Lord, if Alabama were to land him, that would be unbelievable.
Just imagine, going back in time and me telling people that, hey, the number one player in the country is not from Alabama, but he's heavily considering Alabama and might sign with Alabama, the number one player in the U.S. And Nate Oates, again, he deserves 100% of the credit. Alabama has always been a good program. Alabama's always been a solid program. Alabama has a better history than most know. But Nate Oates has made Alabama synonymous for now. I'm not doing this blue blood crap that they might argue at the other side of the state. No blue blood. But synonymous today with North Carolina, with Duke, with Arizona, with Kansas, with Michigan State. Alabama is in their company today thanks to Nate Oates.
And that's huge, and we need to be thankful, and we need to give him whatever that man needs. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Bama. We will be back tomorrow with more, and until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.